Think you need to spend 16 years in school to get smart? 12 years of high school for years of college, then a master's degree and a PhD? Here's the brutal truth. After all that, you'll probably just be unemployed with a fancy piece of paper. And that's not even a joke anymore. What if I told you that getting actually smart has nothing to do with sitting in classrooms for 2 decades? What if everything you've been told about intelligence is complete BS? And what if you could become genuinely intelligent starting today without spending a single dollar on tuition? Stick around because in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to completely destroy everything you think you know about getting smart. And by the end of this video, you'll have a blueprint that actually works, even if you think your genetics screwed you over. Look, when people like you and me say we want to get smarter, we're really talking about a few specific things. We want to learn useful skills, ideally skills that make us money. We want to become problem-solving machines, hopefully for profit. We want to master difficult subjects so we can earn more and maybe flex on people a little. And yeah, we want to sound intelligent in conversations, just enough so people respect us, but not so much that they think we're total nerds. It's so ridiculously vague and philosophical that only Oprah and Socrates could actually follow it. And when you look for specific, actionable advice that you could try right now, this is what you get. Eat blueberries because they're brain food. Drink black coffee. Exercise more. Get better sleep. Take IQ tests. Listen to classical music. These sound great in theory, but at some point, you actually have to, learn stuff. Besides, some of history's greatest geniuses spent entire days sitting at desks getting only 2 to 4 hours of sleep. So what's the real secret? The real way to get smart? The answer is reading, but not just any reading. Fiction is fantastic for learning to read faster and building your vocabulary. Plus, if you read a lot of dialogue, it'll make you feel like you actually have friends. But most people should focus on nonfiction, which is the key to casually dropping interesting knowledge in conversations. For example, just by reading one good history book, you can come off as someone who actually knows history. The trick is not being obnoxious about it. Wrong way. Person. Crazy how we evolved from chimpanzees, right? You. Well, actually, evolution is nonlinear, and several human-like species inhabited Earth simultaneously, none of which could even be remotely considered chimpanzees. While this might be considered polite by YouTube comment standards, in real life, saying, well, actually, before proving someone wrong will make you instantly unlikable. Right way. Person. Crazy how we evolved from chimpanzees, right? You. It is crazy, right? I was reading the other day, and apparently, humans and chimpanzees, I always thought we evolved from them, but I guess we just evolved side by side. You can be smart while also being humble and sounding like you actually touch grass. The key is teaching people what you know without making them feel dumb. This way, people will actually learn from you, which makes them see you as both smart and respectable. It's actually ridiculously easy. You don't have to read the same 5 books everyone tells you to read. Just think of a topic you want to learn about. Let's say cleaning. Google books about cleaning. Here's one that looks good. Usually, these books cost money, but if your finger slips, you might accidentally end up on a certain website, and you might accidentally search for the title of the book, and by chance click on the first link, and oh no, accidentally download a file and open it with an appropriate ebook viewer. Well, now that you have the book, you'll find that you can not only pick out interesting tidbits for conversations, but you can also learn genuinely useful skills. There are 10 things you should know before learning any skill, but I'll give you the 2 most important. First, unless you practice the skill, your brain will think it's useless and forget it. Second, you only need to know 20% of the knowledge to master 80% of the skill. This is called the learning curve. Just by practicing a little bit, you can make massive progress in the beginning. But here's the catch. You have to actually practice. No one ever learned how to tie a tie by watching how to tie a tie. You only learn by watching how to tie a tie while actually tying a tie. The same applies to reading. Books only make you smarter if you give your brain a reason to remember the stuff in the book. So once you read a chapter on cleaning a bedroom, go clean a bedroom. Doesn't even have to be your bedroom, just clean one. Now you'll never forget it. But let's say you're reading about something you can immediately practice. like jump-starting a dead car battery. Not everyone has 2 cars lying around to practice on, but you can still practice by imagining. Imagine the moment when you'll need to know how to jump-start a car. Put yourself in that situation. Find a video and pretend that's your car. By imagining the whole process from start to finish, you convince your brain that you actually used all that information, and now you'll remember it. Meanwhile, the person who just looked at the diagram and tried to memorize it still won't know what to do in a real situation. This is basically how the entire school system works, except schools do it backwards. You learn information, and because it'll be 15 years before you actually use it, your teacher creates an imaginary situation where that information is useful. That's called a test. The problem is, once the test is over, your brain decides the information isn't useful anymore and you forget it. Some people think repetition or spaced repetition or mind mapping will help them learn faster. But in reality, doing practice questions gives you the most results because they simulate the actual situation where you'll need to use what you learned. If you don't have practice questions, make your own. Convince yourself the stakes are high. Like pretend you're hanging off a cliff by one arm, and someone's there to pull you up, but only if you can name all the parts of a human cell. Learning information and making it seem useful to your brain is all you need to get smart. And this is why textbooks are the absolute S-tier format for becoming smart as fast as possible. There's no fluff, no hand-holding, no distractions, just pure information and a bunch of practice questions. And if you can't solve them, you have to flip to page 847 in the appendix to get help. Textbooks aren't for casual learners because they're not as fun as watching a YouTube video on the topic and forgetting it all an hour later. But if you're up for the challenge, there might be a website you could accidentally stumble upon where you could accidentally download free textbooks on any subject you want. But before you do that, I'm collecting donations in the form of subscriptions to fund the next video. Hit that subscribe button if this actually helped you realize that getting smart isn't about spending 20 years in school. It's about reading the right stuff and actually using what you learn. See you in the next one.